Industrial output grew at a pace of 4.9% in April. This is the first set of data with FY23 as the base year. Robust performance by capital goods and manufacturing lifted growth even as mining output contracted. Now, apart from the change in base year, the IIP data will also include gas, water, sewage and waste management activities. Sapna Das is joining us now with the Secretary at the Ministry of Statistics, Saurabh Garg, on the new data series.
Well, it's a launch of another new series, and this time it's the Index of Industrial Production, and we are joined in conversation by none other than the MoSPI Secretary, Dr. Saurabh Garg. So thank you so much for giving time as always. I think it's a hat trick for the ministry, so to speak. You had CPI, then you had GDP, and now you have IIP. So does this trilogy more or less complete the work for the time being, or there is more expected over the next few months? I mean, something as important as a new series?
You're right that these are the three main macroeconomic indices, the GDP, CPI and the IIP. And all three have now been updated. Though obviously there are other activities which continue, but at least the major macroeconomic indices are now up to date. They reflect the current status of the economy. They reflect the improved data sources that have been made available over the past 10 years, especially in terms of the digital sources. And all of them are updated to the latest internationally accepted methodologies. So this work has been done over the past 2 years and more. And to that extent, we have crossed the first hurdle towards having better macroeconomic data available.
Right, sir. So now coming specifically to IIP, so you have the March number coming in. How do you read this number? And you have data for the previous 13 odd months, but over the last quarter of the financial year which has gone by and the kind of global situation that we are in, so how do we read this number? Though of course it pertains to March, as you have pointed out. Yeah,
March, though we have the April numbers also. The April numbers have been released today along with the previous 12 months. So we have the last 13 months starting
data for
April.
Okay, fine.
Yeah. So, and if you see the numbers, for example, the April data is a robust 4.9% despite the broad geopolitical situation. And I think the IIP reflects the domestic production capabilities and outputs that are actually happened. And if you look at the last 1 year's data, or even if you look at the last 3 years' data as per the revised series, it shows that number one, it is higher than what the previous base year had reflected, which shows that the structure of the economy has significantly changed. There have been a number of new products that come in. And in fact, nearly 120 odd item groups we have added, and 64 we have dropped, which shows the kind of churn that has happened. And the fact that the domestic production has remained robust. If you look at the last 3 years, it's consistently on an average above the 5%, the IIP growth rates. So the robustness and the resilience of the Indian economy gets reflected also in the industrial statistics as it had shown in the GDP numbers earlier.
Okay. Is this number higher than what was expected? I mean, if I may ask generally.
We don't make predictions of the future, but I think what the forecasters had, or the credit rating agencies, I think the revised estimates are higher than what was earlier estimated.
And definitely the change in the base year, and hence the change in the weightage and the change in the number of items, all of that put together has made a material difference.
Absolutely. And it should also, because that's the idea of having regular base changes, that you capture the status of the economy more accurately. If I can just add, for example, out of the 120 items that have got added, some of them include things like we have now aircraft and space parts that we are manufacturing now, which we were not doing. Cards with magnetic stripes, credit card, debit card has usage, that has entered. Stents and vaccine, they have been added. CCTV cameras, they have. If you look at some of the items which have gone out, they include things like fluorescent tubes, because many of them have been replaced by LEDs. Then you have kerosene, that production has gone down. Sewing machines, printing machinery, now that you all use printers attached to computers, you don't need separate printing machines. A lot of tubeless tires are there, so you don't have tubes of cycles and all. So this reflects that a number of items which were there earlier are not produced, and that's what the revision in the base rates helps to ensure.
Okay. And how do we capture the number of factories or the representative factories more accurately?
So
in comparison to the earlier?
Yeah, so we look at, for each item group, we look at those factories which in a combined manner capture nearly 80% of the gross value added, and at the same time that they don't have less than 0.01% share of that sector. So very small production units we don't look at, but as long as 80% of the GVA is being reflected, that's how the selection of the factories is done.
Okay. Also, sir, you had mentioned this very clearly that obviously that some of the sectors have a lower inclusivity or a lower weightage, so to speak, in the basket, and probably refined petroleum products is one of them, if I'm not mistaken. So
yes. So So
right now it's a hot topic. So people want to understand because the consumption numbers have really gone up. But of course, this is the IIP. It's a production, it's a capturing index.
Yes. So for example, there has been a reduction in what the sector is called manufacture of coke and petroleum products. So it's both capturing that. And when we say the weight has gone down, it's not that the production has gone down. Production would have increased, but comparatively, production of other sectors has increased much more. So let me just give an example. For example, the share of chemicals, rubber products and pharmaceuticals has increased, plastics has increased. So it has increased in a greater numbers or in a greater proportion than it has increased in coke and petroleum products. Similarly, the share
production there has been higher in comparison
to this, and therefore the weight of that sector has increased, while weight of this sector has slightly reduced. But if you look at the absolute numbers, production of everything has increased much more. Similarly, manufacture of basic metals, even out there, the share of basic metals has reduced, though the absolute production of basic metals has been increasing in the country over the past decade. But this also reflects a lot of this would have shifted to value-added metals and those activities. Therefore, it's not, when we say the share of a sector has reduced, it's not the absolute production, but compared to the overall basket, the production increase in these sectors, which may be called the traditional sectors, has not been as much. For example, the share of automobiles and trucks has increased, and that's where, because a lot more EVs, a lot more other types of trucks and vehicles, and the transport sector has really increased. So it's you must see it in that context.
You'd also mentioned about some work going on indices-based index. Indices, chain-based indices.
Yes.
I'm so sorry, pardon me.
Yeah.
So could you explain, or could you take us through that, and where are we on that right now? And in case GOI, actually accepts that or adopts it, by when would that be possible? What material change would it make?
Yes. So let me just explain what we mean by a chain-based index. We have the base year of 22-23 year in this index. And this base year reflects the weights of the different sectors in that particular year in the production of manufacturing scenario. In the chain-based index, based on the year-to-year changes of the annual survey of industries and the GDP national accounts, the weights of those sectors would get automatically updated. In this series, we have made the provision of moving towards a chain-based, but at the moment we have released the index based on the fixed base of 22-23. Over the course of the year, we will be doing an internal analysis of whether the chain basing is robust enough, is it resilient enough, is it stable enough. And once we are confident that the chain basing can be done, we would switch over and continue for some time to produce both the fixed base and the chain base, so that people get comfortable with the chain base and then switch totally to the chain base.
And this will of course not entail any change in the base here.
This will not entail any change in the base here.
Great, great. Also, sir, just wanted to understand that this is one thing that you're working on in terms of IIP. There were certain questions also raised that probably to do this, you have also included the WPI and you have sourced it internally from DPI. So can you explain what is
Yes. The IIP is actually a volume index, a production index. But in some sectors, for example, even though where the production cycle is more than a month and you have a lot of inventory or a work in progress, we need to look at the value of the work done, for example, in terms of rupees or in terms of in value terms. So for value indexes, we need to deflate the numbers so that it doesn't include the inflation part of the change in impact. In the old series, we were using the WPI 2011-12. In the new series, we are using the WPI 22-23, which DPIIT is working, and it is soon going to be released in the next few weeks. And therefore, internally, we have used that data in the WPI, in the IIP. And the reason we did it is we didn't want to change within a couple of weeks to look at the WPI once it becomes in the public domain. But it would be available in the public domain soon. So at the moment, we have sourced the WPI 22-23 base and used it in this with the understanding that the WPI 22-23 is anyway going to be soon in the public domain.
Okay. One more question that had been raised was about the volatility of the IIP series. In the past, there have been kind of already even 13 months data that we have right now. You can see it's like a W. It's almost like a continuous W. So just want to understand that is that an issue, concerning the sanctity of the numbers, or rather giving that kind of confidence to the economy, and would it be addressed at some point in time, or not really? That's the way it is.
See, the volatility in the numbers would be a reflection of the actual production, and actual production may change for various reasons. If we see historically in India, in the month of October, the production, the IIP is always much, much lower, because traditionally that's when is the festival season and the number of holidays of the factories increases and therefore production reduces. Some other months there could be inventories which are available and which there has been changes in sales for various reasons. It could be monsoon, it could be depending on what the product is and what is the seasonal impact. But one area that we have taken care of in the new IIP is the fact that in the earlier series we did not have a method of substituting factories which have either changed their line of production, which in modern times is much more frequent and happens more easily, or some factories which have closed down.
Yeah.
So
6
that
months or something, that's
we have a set protocol that in case in some factory there is no production shown for a certain period of time, then we'll substitute it, and the methodology of doing that so that it doesn't impact the volatility of IIP.
So you address that to an extent.
Absolutely.